Hey, Dave. I saw Bill on here before. My computer shut down when he popped up, so I don't see him now. You're on mute, Dave. You want to unmute, then I can hear you.
Now you should hear me.
Now I've got you.
Okay.
Yep, there we go.
Okay.
I did see Bill before, and I don't know what happened. Like I said, when he popped on, I was on just like 2 minutes ago. All of a sudden, my computer cycled off for some reason, shut everything down, and I had to turn it back on.
Okay.
I am going to transfer this to you right away. I can see. Okay. Oh, there's Bill. Okay, I just made you the host, Dave.
Okay.
So you should now have control.
Let's see. We want to see that spreadsheet, right?
Yes.
And how do I?
There should be a share button on the bar, on the bottom bar. Your bottom bar might not be visible. You might have to go and move the arrow over kind of the bottom of your screen, and it should pop up like where the microphone is, the camera, and so on.
Yeah.
And there should be a green file
Share.
folder that says share. And
Yeah.
you click on that.
Okay.
And then it should come up a screen, and all your files should be in that window, and then you just click on whichever one you want to share.
There we be.
Excellent. Yep, there it is. Bill, can you hear us?
I don't see him. It says just the black screen. It says Bill Cochran.
Yeah, he doesn't have the video on, but I think he has audio.
He's at home.
He is. We have ice here today, so I would imagine that several people that join us today are probably are not in school.
School's canceled.
For a lot of places, yeah. St. Louis is canceled, and I don't know about the Kansas City area, but most of St. Louis area south is canceled. So CCLS did not have school today. Lutheran South is out, North is out. We just had enough, just a glaze.
Yeah.
Well, there's Jim Bradshaw.
Hey, Jim, how are you doing?
Can you hear us, Jim? You might be on mute. And Bill might be on mute, too. Since you're the host, you should be able to see whether or not they're on mute, Dave. You can unmute them.
I don't see. I just see Bill Cochran. I don't see anything that deals with his.
Normally, there's a little button in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, there is. And it says chat.
Okay. So it doesn't say mute or non-mute.
It says chat, make host, make co-host, remove, put on hold, hide non-video participants.
Okay.
And Jim Bradshaw dropped off.
Yeah, he did. He went right away, right after he got there. Why don't you make me co-host for a second, then I'll see if I can.
Go ahead. Why don't I make you co-host?
Yeah, and then I can scroll over. You have the control right now, so you can make me co-host. I'll see if I scroll over if I can find there.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to Jim. He was in and out.
It doesn't allow me to make you co-host. It allows me to make you host.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I can work with that, and if I have to reclaim it, I'll reclaim it after. Otherwise, you're going to have to put that back up again.
So you made it into the office, I see, huh?
I did, yeah. It wasn't real bad out, but it's actually coming again. There's another system coming through, and it's supposed to do it through noon. It looks, when I was on my way in, I felt a few pellets of sleep.
Yeah, I'm driving to New York on Saturday, so I hope the weather.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were driving out there. Yeah, save all those and send those to me afterward.
Yeah, I will.
So when are you going up? You're going early, aren't you?
We're going early. I got a brother who lives in Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Okay.
Going to the conference. We're not going into the city until Tuesday afternoon.
Okay. Let's see, Joni's with us. Jim, can you hear us okay?
I can unmute her.
Joni can hear us. Michelle's with us. Michelle, you hear us okay? Yep, excellent. Jim, are you able to hear us? I see your video. I think you have yours. Yeah, you're on mute.
Joni, I unmuted her.
Yeah, Joni looks like it stepped out. Can you unmute Jim Bradshaw? Lower left corner of his window, there should be a.
Yeah, I just unmuted him. Okay. Hi, Jim.
Good morning.
Oh, there he is. Excellent. How you doing, Jim?
Doing well. Yeah, just got back from Michigan. Saw Galen.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I was talking to Tripp. I said, Tripp, we got to talk to Galen.
Well, he told me about some cool places that are possibilities for Confidex this next year. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if he knows. Tripp and I put it forth again to maybe go to Key West when we're out.
Well, I'll tell you what. He's out of the places he mentioned. He said that one's the most expensive. He got a really good deal in Tampa.
Okay.
But
we were looking at Tampa Clearwater, so that was our option if Key West was too far out of it.
Yeah, and the one he mentioned in Orlando, there's something else going on at the same time. So he said pricing there is a bit more challenging.
Okay. Well, Tampa would be okay. Tampa Clearwater wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, I think he said, don't quote me on this, but I think he got it's like a 102 or a 112, something like that. It sounded really decent.
Yeah.
He was checking Hilton properties, and he said the one in Key West was like 188, but they waived some sort of a room, kind of like their
resort fees and stuff.
Resort fee, yeah.
Well, that's actually not all that bad. That surprised me. That's
right.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. I haven't heard from him since our conference in December, and I emailed. I said, Galen, are you sending out the survey? And evidently not, because I haven't heard from him. Oh, gotta love it.
There's been some turnover in ed execs, right?
There has been.
There's been a few.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. There's probably not many where you are, Jim, is there? I mean, there's like Hintz and Sally Hiller and Brink and stuff, 26 years. How long have you been doing it?
14.
Yeah. So you're kind of like in that middle. I think there's not many kind of in your range, are there?
No.
Most are either kind of within 5 or
Right.
25.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, Bill and Rachel and Mark Brink, those guys have been.
Yeah, like 26 years.
They're the seasoned pros. I'm going to go shut my door.
Yeah, Stephen Agel said he can't join in because all of his stuff's at school and he's iced in.
Sure.
Is that Joni?
Yeah.
Oh, are you iced in out there? Or?
Oh, we're good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're just kind of on the edge of it in St. Charles, weren't we? We got a little, but.
Yeah. Hey, Al. Sorry, I wasn't able to get those KC people connected to this. Sharon's just expressed just a lot going on her end, and Dave Rent's still rather new to his stuff, and
Yeah.
and Nancy Jankowski's going through accreditation right now, so just the timing for them.
I saw Nancy out in D.C. at the LEA.
Mm-hmm.
That was good to see her out there.
Mm-hmm.
How's Nancy's school going?
I think, Dave, from the time that you were there working with them, things are more stable, although they're in a pastoral vacancy right now. Senior pastor, that is. And so, but on the school side, I think they're more financially stable than they had been.
You had some turnover in that older staff.
Yeah, they have. They've had a couple retirements. There'll probably be a couple more coming here in the next probably 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, they had a bunch of people that were 65 and older.
Yeah, they did. Dave, are you in Indiana today?
I'm actually Concordia High School in Fort Wayne, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Fort Wayne's my hometown, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing some work for Concordia High School right now, so. So I happen to be in the office there today.
Very good.
And then next week I'm going to ALSS, so.
Okay. Al, maybe you and I need to do more Zoom type meetings like this. We can never get together face to face.
Tell me about it. Actually, we should. I mean, this is a great way to meet.
Yeah, no kidding.
It'd be good.
Ed execs could do that too and wouldn't have to travel to Florida.
That's true, too. We could get Bill the call-in number if he wants to call in. The only problem with Zoom meetings is you're still cold and icy. If you meet together in Florida, you're not. Oh, let's see, Bill. Zoom. There's Nathaniel.
I don't see anybody else.
Nathaniel just popped on. You see him up in the window?
Nope, not yet.
I'm sending Bill how to call in. He's on, but he can't hear anything, and we can't hear him. So. But if he phones in, we should be able to. And let's see. Probably what, 50-50 if Carrie's joining us, and that's only if Michelle actually is his keeper again today and makes him aware.
He's aware of it, but I think he has class until right around 10:15, and then it's
Okay.
a matter of does he remember?
That's always the question. Stephen can't join in. But we'll watch the video.
Hey, Alan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a few minutes after this that you and I could maybe chat? I have a question. I have a couple of things I want to run by and get some advice on.
Yep. I have a couple of moments.
Okay.
Let's see. So, Gary may or may not show up. And then Michelle left a breadcrumb trail for him.
Doesn't mean he follows it.
Hey, Bill is on. Look, we have video with Bill and everything right now. Let's see if he can hear us. Oh, Bill's off.
The only people I see, Al, are you, Joni, and Jim.
That's it?
That's all I see.
Odd. You should see Jim, me, Joni, Michelle, Nathaniel, and Bill has his name up there on the screen. You might be on, are you on speaker view? You maybe need to go to gallery view.
Me?
Yeah. So Dave, top right-hand corner, there's a little box up there. It'll say speaker or gallery. And gallery view puts everybody up in your window. Speaker view will just kind of run a ribbon up top, but focus on one person. I'm trying to see. Who are we missing then besides Stephen? I guess Stephen and Carrie are the only ones that were missing. So Carrie may join in. Stephen's going to watch the video. And we'll try to get Bill connected.
I just called Lucy down at the office. Carrie has class till 10:15, and then she's going to try to get him to pop down here.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right. why don't we go ahead and I'll work with Bill here to see if I can get him online. Okay, well, I'll open us in prayer and then I'll turn it over to Dave. That sound good, Dave? And then you can roll from there. So let's open. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this wonderful and glorious day that you've given to us, and each day that you give to us, knowing it's a true gift from you. Allow us to make the most of everything, the day, the time, the energy, and the opportunity we have in ministry. Give you thanks this morning for people who are joined together to learn, to grow, to be challenged, and to challenge one another as they look to care for your ministries that you provide. We ask that you be with Dave this morning. We give you thanks for his talents and abilities and his willingness to share those with all of us and all of those who serve in schools throughout and other ministries as well. Be with him this morning as he allows us to learn, to acquire knowledge, and to utilize that for the betterment of your ministries. Be with all those who are still traveling today, those that are dealing with ice or other weather conditions. We ask you keep them safe and allow them to make good decisions as well. Sometimes we don't make such good decisions and focus too much on the things that we have to get to or the business of the world that we encounter. Allow us to instead be wise in all things that we do, and always allow us to do all to your glory. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we're blessed to have Dave with us once again today, and Dave will, he has the screen. He already has an Excel document up there. He's free and open to answer any questions that you have. Some of this, I think, will be troubleshooting and some ideas. Nathaniel, I shared with Dave a question about title funds and maybe how to account for those and what his theories and philosophy happens to be with that.
I'll start there, okay?
Yeah, certainly start there. I'll also throw out there if you have questions, if you would type it in your chat, the lower ribbon, you should see a chat there to click on, and the chat will pop up. You can chat with everyone, or you can chat just with me. But what Dave asked is if you have questions, put those in the chat box so that I can see those, and then I'll stop Dave and say, hey, Dave, we have a question, and here it is. So, and
Al, real quick, are you recording this?
I am recording this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So we have it saved for afterward.
Okay,
It
thanks.
looks like Bill has called in. That looks like his phone number there. So Bill, you're on mute now. I think, Dave, you might be able to unmute Bill. If not, I'll try to figure out how to unmute him.
I don't see him. I
There's
couldn't.
okay. There's a little telephone icon that's up there. So.
Yeah.
All right. It's all Dave.
Okay, the first question is, where would you deal with title funds? Okay, you got to deal with title funds probably two ways. Once is income, okay, and then the other is where the expense is. Let's start with the income. If you look at the income tab on the bottom of your screen, or I can show you here, okay, every box that is blue or yellow is connected to the budget, okay? And if there's nothing in there, nothing shows up in the budget. Well, title funds are probably grants. Let's just, for the sake of discussion, I'll put $5,000 in there, okay, under the school area. Hit enter, but I'll go back in here and I'm going to highlight that in red so that we know that that's what we're working on, okay? And that would be your title funds. Now, if you go back, then shift over to the budget tab. you will notice in the area of grants, $5,000 popped up. Again, I'll do that in red so you can see it. Okay, before that had been zero. Now, to cover the expense, you would probably go back, if it was for the school, you'd go back into the school area, and then you could use one of these other lines down here at the bottom and just type in title funds. Okay, and then it was $5,000. But then we'd have to go over there and allocate that, and if it was all allocated for the school, we put the $5,000 in here. We put 100% here. And it's going to add to the total budget over here, and it's all in a school expense. Okay, so the net bottom line in the budget, it just equals out. But that's the way you would go back and deal with title funds. Okay, or you could go back and say anything you wanted to add would be a way to do that. If it's just an expense and there's no income related to it, then you're going to go back and just do that under the school tab or the church tab or the early child, those tabs, and enter it as an expense. It's going to increase the expense. But here was one that increased the income as well as the expense, didn't do anything at all to tuition or those other parts of the budget model kind of thing. Okay, did that answer that question for you guys?
Yep, Nathaniel says yes.
Okay, did you get any other questions?
I have a question from Bill, who's still trying to figure out how to get sound, but outside of that, nothing on the finance side yet.
Okay. Well, one of the other things that we had talked about is how do you use, we're going to go back to the budget tab, how do you use the information that we have here to play what-if games kind of thing. Let's make a discussion. Right now, we've got $415,000 in church income, okay? And it's saying that we're going to need a tuition of about tuition and fees of $8,200. But let's go back and say that the church income, which here, drops to, let's say it drops to $375,000. Go back and look at the budget. That number went over to the budget. Was 375. Remember, there had been 415 in there before. Okay, now I'm going to say, what did that do to tuition? I'll cover that. What happened? It didn't do anything to tuition. It just changed the amount that the church has to meet with its responsibilities. Otherwise, the congregation, that probably reduced the congregation surplus from that standpoint. Okay, that's where that. So that really didn't do anything to the school based on the church's commitment to the school. Back, and I'm going to change that back. Okay, you see that congregation surplus now went back up to what it had been from that standpoint. You can play some what-if games here if you, I did show some of those. If you set the tuition and fees at $5,600, you're going to have a negative $283,000 margin, okay? And it doesn't change the numbers over here. It just calculates it out there. But when you need the 82, the tuition is set at 76 because you've got $600 in fees. So it's $7,600 plus that. You change no matter whatever number you would put in here, it's going to automatically adjust what that is. And this is going back and saying that you would have a tuition of $5,000 plus $600 in fees. Okay? You're using the same fees that you had up here. If you increased fees, okay, let's just say you increased the registration fee to $500. Okay, that's a $300 increase. You still need that amount of money, 82, but the tuition, okay, dropped to $7,400 rather than $7,600. Okay? Was just a change in fees from that particular standpoint. So you're going to be charging a lower tuition. And I think that was what, 300 before? Yeah, we had $600 in fees. So what it did is you're still need to get the same amount of money, okay? But you were just collecting more in fees and less in tuition. That helps, you go back and say, well, we charge more fees, okay? Unless it's going to reduce your tuition. You still needed the $8,200 per student in order to balance your budget from that standpoint. And you can go back and look at enrollment. What happens if we change enrollment, okay? Let's just artificially go back and change. This number is an interesting number right here, okay? This $621,000. That is a number that I call the value of your empty seats. In other words, the value of your empty seats, if I go back here and look at kindergarten, I got 19 kindergartners, okay? And I can take 20. Realistically, I got one empty seat. In this class, if I can take 25, now you can go back and change these numbers if you want, okay? I just use 25. There's 14 empty seats, okay? I can take students into that class at no increase in cost, okay? Costs are all covered. If I add 5 more students to that class, I'm going to get 5,000, and at whatever price, that's all money I would have gotten in addition, okay, from that standpoint. I mean, I talk about that as the value of your empty seats. It's not costing you any money to discount those seats in financial aid. So if you're $5,000, okay, and you can get somebody in there for $2,500, my feeling is you go for it. You don't want to. All of these classes had room, okay. I mean, here's the 7th grade. It's only got 5 kids. Now I go back and look and say, can I combine 7th and 8th grade into one class? Have 19. If I do that, I can save the cost of a teacher. How does that impact going back, from that particular standpoint?
Dave,
Yeah.
do you mind? So Dave and I connected a little bit yesterday just to make sure that direction we were going to head today. We had a little conversation about empty seat and discussions on that. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing or if you can tell a different version of it, or save the names and all that stuff. But some of the conversation we had yesterday, I thought you had an interesting story about the school that you've been working with.
schools that I had discussion with about the value of the empty seat, the board had said we can only give out X amount of dollars in financial assistance. And person had a family of 3 kids who needed some financial, who wanted to enroll. Financial aid had all been given out, okay? Tuition and fees at this school happened to be, like $15,000. And they would have sent the 3 kids at $10,000 apiece, but couldn't afford the 15.
Yeah.
But the board said, you have no more financial aid. What they had is $30,000 walk out the door, goes to, go down this. It wouldn't have cost them any more to have those students in school.
Right.
They lost $30,000 plus any ancillary income you would get from parents participating in fundraising events, et cetera, et cetera. It's a concept people struggle with, and I understand that. But the reality is you've got as much financial, you start out with a certain amount, but you've got as much financial assistance available as your empty seat. You could let that student come into the first grade, first grade at no cost, 100% discount. It's not going to impact you negatively. Anything you get above zero goes into the bottom line as income that you didn't have. So the value of these empty seats, based on the tuition that's there, is, $620,000 to that particular school. They even picked up $100,000 of that. Significantly different financial story, and I think I know I've been preaching that for years, and I know some people don't necessarily agree with it. I don't understand why they don't agree with it from that standpoint. I mean, it's,
I said yesterday too when we were talking, Dave, I always say this: make sure that you forecast this out as well. So if you're doing this empty seat for a first grader and the expectation is they'll be there through 6th grade or 8th grade, make sure that you have a good forecast so you recognize, okay, this is what we're doing, and that will carry through this amount of time. Also, recognize the fact you may have a different empty seat cost in 8th grade versus what you would have maybe in 1st through 5th grade or something.
Typically what happens, Al, okay, is when I go back and look at this first grade enrollment, okay, if I follow that through, that enrollment is probably going to continue right on down the line in the neighborhood of 11 students, okay?
Yep.
You're going to have some come in, and you're going to have some go out from that particular standpoint. But by and large, it's going to go. People use that as what you were describing, is what happens if we get further up as an excuse not to do it. I'm saying I've never found a situation where I gave some additional financial assistance that enrollment was going to change dramatically. Even if you just went from these numbers up to an enrollment of 20, okay, in a class, you still have all kinds of room for a paying customer coming in.
Oh, I agree. I'm wholeheartedly on board with you, Dave, and I agree. I just like to forecast it out so that I know the trend setting and what it looks like. And, you do that over time, too. You can analyze and say, okay, well, we're always going to have 11, 12, whatever else. I just like to account for it so that I have that view of it. The other thing we talked about, too, a little bit yesterday was the fact of, if somebody comes to you for financial aid and it's need-based, sometimes there are students that you might want to go a little bit above and beyond because it adds to the overall climate of the school. I don't know if you want to talk about that too, just a little bit, Dave. I think that fits with the empty seat cost thought as well.
One of the things that I found is if you added some students, okay, because you were able to give more financial assistance, you may have improved the quality of the offer, and I may be able to offer a JV basketball team because I've got enough kids to have a JV basketball team, so it enhanced the quality. Even, or if I've seen schools that got 6 and 7 kids on a basketball team, And if you pick up 2 or 3 more, you've got an opportunity to be competitive. It's advantageous to the people that are paying the tuition in order to have those kids in school, because you're able to offer some programs. And I think there's all kinds of advantage. The higher your enrollment, typically, the better you are, and the more affordable some of the added options become from that particular standpoint, because you got income in the cover it. Okay.
We also got a little bit into the discussion yesterday to be mindful of any league rules or anything else. But, I say we certainly did that. There are some that, and it was all financially based, but, we gave significant amounts of financial aid to some athletes, knowing what that would do to our programs. And it was all above board, but, we did go above and beyond. There are some people that question that.
I found financial aid is, when you're looking at the development side of it, is, it's not the top easy raise, okay, from that particular standpoint, but it's, the easiest money to raise is from parents that, if you have something that's going to benefit their kids, okay, from that standpoint. If you're going to add computers to a computer lab or something of that nature, it's that immediate gratification. People are inclined to give to something that they're going to see immediate results from. The financial assistance is one of them when you're going back and looking at your development. I think we're providing this financial assistance to students to be able to come to our school and understand that it's basically at no cost to us, from that standpoint. So, anybody have questions of places where you struggled with the spreadsheet stuff? Where to put stuff? Or how to put it?
Dave, could you address just quickly, where are schools most vulnerable in tracking income and expenses, or the lack thereof? Where do you see the biggest pitfalls?
It's having decent accounting kind of thing. I go back and depends on, I believe in cash accounting on the income side and accrual accounting on the expense side from that standpoint. Lutherans, typically churches and schools, do not fund depreciation. So I kind of take depreciation out of it, but I do include as an expense the capital expense on indebtedness. From that particular standpoint, that's a cash thing, because in accrual accounting you would not include that as an expense. You wouldn't include prior year's tuition. I mean, you wouldn't include it as an income. You wouldn't include prior year's tuition collected, in the following years. So there are a couple of little things like that that are significant. And I found that principal on indebtedness is a whole lot less an expense than depreciation, and you're not funding depreciation anyway. But when somebody looks at your books, okay, I think part of the issue is we're not getting clear reports to people who have to make decisions, okay, or they're late. I think the other place that's very vulnerable is the collection of tuition. I encourage organizations to use an organization like PADS or FACTS, okay? The tuition management stuff. I know in one place we eliminated over $25,000 in credit card fees by going that way, because when people were paying their tuition to the school and were paying it with credit cards, we were paying the fee, okay? Right, when you use it with TADS or FACTS or what SMART, I guess, is another one from that standpoint. you can set it up that they collect the credit card fee from the parent as part of their service to you. The other one I found, is letting, where you got vulnerable, is letting people slide. Like tuition. Okay? One of the things I found in the high school was that we set up with CADs to give us a list of people who were 5 days past due. Okay? So the tuition was due on the 15th, and I still hadn't paid it the 20th. Our first course of action was to withhold the student from extracurricular activities. Okay?
Yeah.
That was better than threatening to withhold them from class. I mean, after 20 days, we withheld them from class, but it was ironic, that extracurriculars seem to be more important. I said, well, you're penalizing my kid, okay, because I haven't paid the tuition. You got to go back and say, no, you're penalizing your kid because you haven't paid your bill. I mean, you just got to turn it around and put it back to them from that standpoint. I think sometimes we're afraid to do that. I think the other place that I've always asked a question: can a parent be a board member? I would think it's time to raise the tuition. I'm a board member, and I know the tuition ought to go up $300, but I'm a parent, and I don't want to pay any more than I'm paying now. Well,
Yeah.
let's settle for a $100 increase. Those are some of the have a specific agreement with board members before they could come on that when they came to the board, they had to give go back and you had to make decisions which are best for the school, maybe not necessarily best for you personally, and that kind of thing. And we had that agreement. If they couldn't agree to that, then they couldn't be a board member.
Yeah.
And our chairman not enough to hold them accountable if they started to slip a little bit and reiterate that agreement. I think the other place that I see with churches and schools is that the church membership is declining. The contribution levels are dropping, and the school is very dependent. Was very dependent on contributions. Okay,
Yep.
I think the other one is an area that you got to be careful about. I'm going to click on this one. Discounts tab. Okay, go back and look at this. The discounts. Okay, now this was 37 of it was financial assistance. So 130 of this number down here was entitlement discounts. Okay, and these just happen to be members. Okay, second and third child discounts, church staff and school staff, faculty discounts. I know a lot of places 100% discount.
Mm-hmm.
We did not give 100% discount to staff people or teachers. We gave a certain amount. If they needed more, that they had an opportunity to apply through financial assistance. Not that many of them had spouses who had, high six-figure incomes, didn't need financial assistance.
Right.
Entitlement is something you get whether you need it or not. Okay. I've seen it as high as entitlement discounts. Okay, they give scholars things. They give second and third discounts. They give legacy discounts. Okay, because they had a brother or sister, parent, grandparent. Okay, I mean, I know if my kids attend Lutheran South and St. Louis, my grandkids attend Lutheran South in St. Louis, they didn't get a discount because I graduated from Lutheran South in St. Louis. Okay, those are entitlements. There's no income coming in to cover those. And that's what I call entitlements. I'm entitled to this whether I need it or not. I've worked with a school where it's high, as low as only 2% the student body paid the full price because of the discounts. And the discounts amounted to 7% of the tuition. 7% of the overall tuition that was discounted. When you give up 7% of your tuition discount, and I mean, they may be justified. Or scholars, I mean, which is or an excellent. People get it for grade point averages, et cetera, but
Are we live?
I'll watch.
I have a question.
Okay.
So when I'm looking at your stats, you've got, I think you had on one line, I'm not sure it's pictured now, you had like 35,000 was financial aid. In what you're showing us and what you're advising, you're saying that's real money that's changing from one column to another. That's not just a number, that's real money.
No,
Yes or no?
it's not real money. We're giving that discount, okay, but
No. I'm not calling, I'm just asking for clarification. I know what a discount is. There's no money changing hands. You're just not getting that money. I'm talking about when you have a line that says $35,000 total school financial assistance. Is that money coming from Fund A that you're putting now in Fund B?
no.
No?
No.
Okay.
mean,
Because I think I think the biggest problem that I think Jim asked, what's the biggest problem? The biggest problem I see with people is they're trying to reconcile their budget and planning for the next year is they way over forecast the money that's coming in.
Right.
You have to predict, and it's okay. And you can give we all have different advice. We have different communities. But like here in Kansas City, if we charge $9,300 a student, realistically in the budget, I have to predict that it's going to be we're really taking in about 75.
I agree with you.
So that's what gets budgeted then. And then we explain how the breakdown is. Is it financial aid? Is it scholarship? Is it these other, entitlements, as you say? And those are just things you have to determine. What can you exist doing, and that kind of thing. But when I got here, we were predicting $9,300 was being paid by every student. That was our forecast. I go, this is ridiculous. You're just making a red budget automatically. We don't have that money coming in. So quit lying to ourselves. It looks good for the board. I guess you feel better, but we're not getting that. So what are we actually getting? What can we afford to do? You explained the empty seat thing. Obviously, the empty seat thing depends on if you have seats or not.
Right.
If you have seats, I'd rather get $2,000 out of somebody than nothing. But and by the way, this year at Lutheran High School in Kansas City, it's a little bit of an unusual year, but we have collected already over $60,000 of tuition from previous years. So we have a lot of struggling people who say, can I get on a 5-year, 6-year plan? And as faithful stewards, as we evaluate it, we allow that quite often. Or the other thing would be, Dave, you just say, okay, sorry, we don't do that. Okay, we're not coming there.
Right.
So those are the kind of decisions that I think have to be made either at the board level or at the executive level, however it is. But man, $60,000 for us, that's really nice because that wasn't budgeted. We might budge 10,000 typically. Like somebody's continuing to pay, we kind of guess at it. But some people have been very faithful because we've been very faithful to them.
So, Carrie, just a quick follow-up on that. Did you go after them, or that was just set up prior and they just continue to pay?
Yeah, well, both. We went after some people. I contracted with an outfit, and I checked on that the other day. We have turned up $0 on the ones we went after aggressively, like they're trying to, I don't know, however they do that, collection place, and we've come up with 0 so far with that. But part of the problem was if you let something linger for too long, it's very difficult to collect. You're better off going to be able to collect within the first year or two after, if they're delinquent, if you're going to turn it over to a collection agency. So it's really been more just setting up agreements with people and, making them sign promissory notes, those kinds of things, which are not really threatening as much as they are. It's just kind of a agreement. But I didn't have to deal with this much in my other environments. This one has been, it's just a different socioeconomic level. And so that's something also that has to be considered as your, what is your environment? What are your clients like?
No, we did the same thing. We had the same, and we did go to a collection agency. We found the same. Our collection agency that took a big cut did very little in terms of really collecting from anyone, but agreements that we had or constant communication with the people, reminding them, look, this is still on the books. You need to get this in. Financial agreements, promissory notes, all those things.
Yeah, and we held transcripts sometimes, Al, to a certain degree, but it's so difficult to do that when you know you're just hurting the child, and the child really has little or nothing to do with with the parent's situation and so on. So, it's a lot of negotiation. It's a lot of prayer, a lot of communication. But I think if you're faithful to who you are and what your mission statement is, you want the kids in there, you want them hearing the gospel, and you're going to try to make it happen. And life happens to people. They lose jobs. People die and divorce and all kind of craziness like that. And so, but I think the grade school parent, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this, as I look at what Dave's laying out here, I think it's so different than what I have to do here.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just a different, with the church involved and everything else, it's really a different kind of deal. Mine's more of a business transaction. So I just throw that stuff in.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And, coming from a high school background and association, I felt, it's much more of a business situation where congregations, school, you're immersed in it. You're seeing them all the time. I think it's just a little bit different environment in that regard. So I would agree. And kind of getting back to your point too, Carrie, one of the things I agree with you, to make a budget work, Dave, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen it at far too many schools where, we're $80,000 short of a balanced budget. Let's just increase our enrollment by 2 students, and now we're balanced. You need to be realistic.
I agree with your comments. I was always in a situation where parents couldn't pay, that we would try to go back and negotiate something with them for some kind of payment from that standpoint.
It's just that it's so difficult to always assess exactly where you're going to be. Like, we're behind this year because we didn't meet our projected enrollment. Okay, so we had budgeted for a higher number. We knew that almost going in. We knew that we were probably over forecast a little bit. And a lot of ours depends on international students too. If we get our number of international students because they're paying a little higher tuition, that's part of this situation. So it's a shell game. And I think I come from the Dave Sommermeyer School of Training with go back to Herb Moldenhauer's and John Herzog's and all those. I was brought up in a very stewardship-minded budgeting. So you're never guessing high. You're almost always guessing low, so that you don't set yourself up for a failure.
I even found with some of the ones that were major in the high school, at some particular point, people needed the diploma.
Right.
And quite frankly, I'd settle some of those accounts at 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah. That's a tough thing. I've only held a kid out of school twice, and I swear and it was a horrible situation, little communication with parent, and it killed me to tell the kid you can't come to school tomorrow. But you know what? In each case, within 2 days, I had like $1,000 check on my desk.
Yeah, that's
so does that prove that it was right what I did? I'm not sure. I never felt good about it. But yeah, we've withheld transcripts oftentimes, and I have held kids out from graduation. Didn't withhold diploma, but said we have it on our application. That's part of the deal. You have to keep up with your tuition. So if you had not made a plan, if you had not signed an agreement, then you might not be able to participate in graduation. So those are tough. One of the most important people in your organization is whoever is collecting your tuition. And I know I was kind of responsible for that when I first got here, but then we made a new hire, and our new business manager is very good at that and has tact and is relentless. And boy, that takes a lot of burden off my back, because you got to deal with the parents on so many levels already that's just one more stressor that you don't need. So, anyway.
questions, comments?
Was there anything surprising when you used the Excel spreadsheet that Dave gave you? Anything that stands out or useful? Number crunching fun? Dave, let me ask you this, because we used to, and I may have asked you this last time, we used to account for our financial aid as an expense. And really, you know, in everything I've been reading, it should be a contra income. Did you account for it as a contra income or as an expense?
Yes, got to go and get Al.
Did you account for financial assistance as a contra income or as an expense? We always did it as an expense, but a lot of financial things I'm reading now, it should be appropriately accounted for as a contra expense. This is more just kind of my personal question. As I go through and I look at some spreadsheets.
I counted for it as a decrease in income.
Okay.
I mean, I start out and say, here's what the total income. I mean, I got 200 students at this, and I start out with that's what the total income, and then I start deducting those things that are unfunded. Okay, unfunded. You may be giving out financial assistance and giving out $100,000 and $50,000 of it's funded. Okay, I'm only going to, in essence, end up deducting $50,000 rather than $100,000 from my standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's money you're not going to get unless it's coming in from on the income side to help offset that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, to me, I think that's just a preference from
One of the places where schools get in trouble. Okay, they go back to the debt thing. You probably handle your what I call secured debt. Okay, and that's your mortgage and those kinds of things you're covering. Okay, I find a lot of places struggling with paying back this line of credit, and you see in here that I did not. This example showed that they were paying anything back on that line of credit. Okay, so if I would go back and say I'm going to pay down that line of credit, typically, I don't know, I've seen them as high as $1.5 million is the line of credit that's used in the bigger organizations. But typically you may get a couple $100 and maybe $200,000 or something like that as a line of credit. And this organization had borrowed $54,000 from that line of credit, and they got nothing in this budget right now showing that they're going to repay that. Typically, it's either if it's on a 1, 2, or 3 year cycle that you've got to pay it all off for a month, okay, 30 days, and then you can borrow it back again. So what happens is a lot of times, like in this case, when you're flushing money in September, okay, they'll pay off the line of credit, and then they'll start borrowing back from that line of credit again in October. That's the spot, okay? The other place is in your internal borrowing from unsecured, okay, funds. This was borrowed from permanently restricted, and this was borrowed from the permanently that they borrowed $20,000 from their endowment, and they borrowed, and that's what they owed back to those. Now it showed that they're starting to pay that back. Okay, and at that rate, it's going to take 4 years to pay that back, and at this rate, it's going to take 3 years to pay this one back. But that's a debt that you got to go back and address.
Yep.
Okay? You got to physically transfer that money back to those other accounts from that standpoint. So that's a place, okay? Here you got a total accumulated operational deficit of $63,000. That accumulated deficit, unless you're paying that down, just keeps carrying forward. And then places, if you call up short, then you're actually increasing this amount. And at some particular point, when this amount gets to be a challenge, it's probably time to go back and try to refinance that. And a number of schools have gone back to this accumulated operational deficit. If you can get the budget, so the forecast is you're going to balance and you're going to be in the black. I've had success of going back to the church extension fund, getting an additional loan, usually for a shorter period of time, maybe 5 or 10 years, okay, to pay that note down. They're not going to give you, the 20, 25 years, 30 years that they might give you on a mortgage, okay? They would be able to help you with getting this monkey off your back so that you're not fighting it all the time. As long as you can give them enrollment forecasts and tuition forecasts and those other kinds of things that say you would be able to handle the principal and interest on that particular note. And in that case, you're not having to pay any interest on this line of credit. You're not having to pay, and you've paid these funds back. Okay, if you've paid these funds back, they're probably invested. They're generating income for you. Okay, so that may be a way to get out of the financial pickle that places find themselves in from that standpoint. It's basically transferring debt from one area to another, but you're more likely to pay the bank or the church extension fund than you are to pay yourself or your line of credit. I was talking with some people that were looking at selling a facility, okay? And if they sold the facility, it was collateral for indebtedness. And they were told, well, if you sell the facility, you're going to have to take that money and pay down your mortgage, okay? I encourage them to go back and show that if we'd invest that money, not pay down our mortgage, that the investment from that amount of money would continue to cover our principal and interest in our mortgage. Okay, so after 5 or 10 years, whatever the balance was on that mortgage, 15, okay, they paid it down out of the earnings off of the sale of the property. At the end of that time, they would still have that money generating, still have a full amount from the sale of the property generating income that they wouldn't need to be paying down on the mortgage. Okay, so the mortgage was guaranteed. I said, even back and invest the money with a church extension fund. Okay, that's who it was. Invest the money with a church extension fund with a caveat: you can't take that money out of there for anything other than paying them. Okay, you're gonna have to come up with. You just can't take that money out at your own whim from that particular standpoint. And that's negotiable, okay, from that standpoint of looking at it. Sometimes we just want to take a bigger picture look at some of those things.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments?
Our plan is to get together again. Next time we'll be live, so it'll be here. What do we say? Sometime in May/June. We're looking at a date, and then we'll do a session here in St. Louis area, and then we'll come to Kansas City. And Jim, do we have the dates yet for the Kansas City LAKC?
Yes. I believe it's June 5th and 6th. Let me double check real quick here.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Is that, you're talking about the retreat?
Yes. Al and I had talked about tagging on either side of the retreat.
I'm pushing it early. I think we normally do a Thursday, Friday. I'm hoping we can do a Wednesday, Thursday.
That's what we have is June 5, 6. That's a Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, so if you want to do something tagging on, I would tag on the front end of that. But that's just me being selfish because I probably got to run out early. I got a wedding that weekend in Houston. So, but anyway, that's a good idea. By the way, Al, this isn't live. Was Dave taped?
Yeah, Dave's taped. He's there.
Okay.
Yeah. Dave is live and in person. So
All right.
maybe we could do, yeah.
Next time we'd be live.
Let's see what Dave's schedule is. Maybe we could do the St. Louis on that Monday, and then we can head to Kansas City and do that on Tuesday, and then do LAKC right following that.
That'd be great. It'd be great.
And actually, if we do the Tuesday, Al, probably the earliest I can get there is about 4.
Okay.
If we have any more snow, just forget all that. Put me in school.
Yeah.
No, those are e-learning days today.
It should be. Dave, can you check your calendar and see if that works for you? And I'll have Bill check his and see if that works for him. And
Yeah, I don't see any problems that far out.
okay. As long as that works for everyone. You want to check your calendars and see St. Louis area. We'll do maybe June 3rd and then Kansas City the 4th or so. And maybe what we could do is utilize the morning of the 5th because typically we don't start LAKC until the afternoon, right?
Right.
So maybe we could go a little bit at night and then flip it around and finish up the next morning.
That'd be great.
I see the corner, what is that, the corner stable?
So we just need to make sure that we get with Concordia and make sure that we get rooms for whoever's coming.
Yeah, otherwise we'll have to do a hotel.
Right. And there's not much in Concordia.
We'll have to move to an alternate location if that's
Right.
Michelle, could you check that out?
Check with, you want me to check with, Nathan actually is in Concordia. It might be good for him to check.
Yeah, I was just
That'd
thinking.
be great.
You want to check and see if we could do that at St. Paul's, the high school there, if
Yep.
that's available.
I got my housing taken care of. You don't have to worry about me.
Excellent.
Well,
Don't worry about you.
Nathaniel, if you don't take care of it, we're all going to stay at your place.
I got a basement.
So what is it, Nathaniel? Is it the corner stable or is it the corner barn? What is the place?
The palace.
The palace.
How can I forget the palace?
About how many people, how many rooms normally, what do you want me to ask?
8 to 10.
Well, we probably have, what, like 6 people coming in early.
Right. And then the normal, she'll know the normal count because we usually give that to her, but for the earlier day, it would probably be 6 of us.
Okay.
Then
And make sure you include some golfing for Carrie.
we're playing golf. We're going to that Higginsville golf course again. That's a high quality place.
Higginsville, the country club's in Emma.
Oh, we didn't go to, well, no, we were in Higginsville.
We're in Higginsville.
Club there. They deliver beer in a golf cart. You just call the clubhouse and they bring it right out. They shut down the clubhouse and come right to you.
There you go.
All right, so we'll look at those dates, and for that Monday, I think we'll do it here at the district office, Joni. So that'll kind of give you and Stephen a spot to come in, and we'll have lunch and everything, and do it here. Maybe we'll have some beverages.
That's the ticket.
Absolutely. I'll close the door, and we'll have some fine beverages. Can't do accounting if you don't have a fine beverage. All right, that sounds
All
good.
right. Thanks, Dave.
I'll have to edit that out of this. I do that.
Al, you sent them to my email address, right? If they got questions, they can sure email me and I'll get back to you.
I did. I sent. They have your email, and the Zoom session is recorded. The last one is recorded as well. So I'll post this one. The link to it, I'll probably send out the other link as well, just as a reminder that if you want to go back to it, here it is.
Yeah, Dave, this is Kerry. I have an ethical dilemma that I will share with you online and be interested in your response. It has to do with funding and, accountability of your school and accounting, et cetera, et cetera.
Are you going to ALSS?
I am.
Okay, well, let's do it over beer there.
Okay. It'll take a couple.
I don't know if I'm up to two. But,
Okay.
I'll meet you at the Terrace Bar. All right, I think we're good.
Yep, Al, thanks a lot. Appreciate you putting this together.
Absolutely. No, thank you to Dave for being willing to do this and giving the time and everything, and
Yeah.
to all of you for your willingness to take part in it. And don't forget, we're going to rely on all of you to go out and start training some people in your areas. So,
All right.
one of the nice things about it too. In fact, maybe we'll do one this summer at the administrators conference. Bill and Carrie, if you can remember that. I got to talk to you guys about summer administrators too.
That's true. I'm tutoring Michelle here as we speak.
That's right.
I can tell. I just lost another $50 to financial aid that you showed up to the meeting.
Guys, wait. I teach till 10:15.
I told him.
Okay, so just
Well,
listen.
I know you teach until 10:15, and that's the word teach is always questionable, but
Hey,
in the classroom until 10:15.
it was the last act of Macbeth today. It was fantastic.
Nice. That's a killer. So then the odds that you are actually coming after that though is astronomical in Vegas.
Hey, Al, I'm going to cut off right now since you're into ecclesiastical supervisory roles.
Oh, exactly.
All right. God bless, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done. So
All right.
excellent.
Okay.
I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
Alan, I'm going to give you a call on your cell phone here shortly.
All right. Sounds
Okay.
good. Very
Thanks.
good. Thank you. Have a great day,
Bye.
everyone.
Okay,
Thanks, Dave.
you bet. I'll check with you later.
All righty. Sounds good.
So you got to figure out how to hang up here now.
I've got it. I reclaimed the hosting, so I'll
Okay.
disconnect all of us.